Good afternoon to one and all. Sorry for this pause. I was just waiting for the announcement to get over. Okay. All the respected people present today, our speakers, panelists, sir. It is actually a privilege to have you all here. And as we've heard, rather many of us have heard today in the morning what Additional Secretary Mr. Srinivas mentioned. Growth and prosperity. This is what the momentum our country has. And with this momentum and having the G20 presidency, we've thought that this is the right time and the place actually to, break the ice regarding all the issues and how these global agencies are being attracted towards us. For G20 being the central of all attraction regarding all the global agencies, being part of the global value chain, and we know it all. So without doing further ado, I would request our Mr. Raman Raghu, Regional Chairman, Southern Region EPC India, to break the ice and have a welcome address. Sir, please, kindly.
A very good afternoon to you, to all. It's my proud privilege to extend a very warm and hearty welcome to everyone present in this roundtable session on G20, trade and investment opportunities. We are honored by the gracious presence of Ms. Michela Kuller, Consul General, Consulate of Federal Republic of Germany, Chennai. We are also privileged to have with us Mr. Jayant Nadigar, Trade and Investment Commissioner of Flanders, Belgium, South India. Mr. Aditya Sharma, President and Member of Board, Indian Chamber of Luxembourg. Mr. Vikram Lodha, Co-Founder and CEO, 360 Trade Finance. Mr. R. Visveswaran, Field General Manager, Union Bank of India, Chennai. Ladies and gentlemen, I also wish to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Vasudevan, Senior Consultant, Industrial Energy Efficiency, the Energy Resource Institute, and Mr. Abhimanyu, Chairman and Managing Director, Janu Technologies Private Limited, who will be sharing their insights into the role of sustainability and international trade. A special thanks to Dr. Sheshadri Chari, Secretary General, Forum for Integrated National Security, Governing Council Research and Information System for Developing Countries, moderator for today's session. We all know that the Group of 20 is an intergovernmental forum of world's 20 major developed and developing economies, comprising of 85% of global GDP, over 75% of global trade, and about two-thirds of world's population. India has assumed the prestigious G20 presidency for 1 year, starting from December 2022, which clearly reflect the world's trust on India. Indeed, the Indian think tank is considering this G20 summit as India's turn to demonstrate its potential, especially before the developed world, and to show its ability to emerge as a leader of Global South. During the years of pandemic, India has clearly shown its ability to withstand severe crises driven by exemplary support measures of incumbent government. The economy is back on the growth track after a monetary recession and achieved all-time high exports in the year 21-22. Engineering export for the first time crossed 100 billion and reached 112.1 billion. Foreign direct investments was at its record high due to business conducive measures of the government and balanced monetary policy approach was taken to control rising inflation and support growth at the same time. Even at the time of crisis caused by pandemic and geopolitical instability, India was able to keep its supply potential and intake capacity intact. Observing India's inherent strength to shrug off the pandemic shock and regaining the pace of economic activities within a short span of time, developed economies have started recognizing India as a strategically important trade partner, one of the most attractive investment destination and an alternate to China as a global supplier. G20 nations are already having a high degree of trade and investment relationship with India. In the year 2021-22, the share of G20 nations in India's global merchandise exports accounted for 56.6% and further increased to 62.4% during April to December 22-23. G20 nations have also been playing a major role in India's economic progress through investments with around 40% share in India's global inbound FDI. USA is the third largest source of FDI in India, while Netherlands, Japan, UK, Germany are among the top 10. Outbound investments to G20 nations are somewhat lower at 13% of India's total outbound FDI, but it's time for India to enhance its global footprints. In order to move forward a deeper and more integrated association in terms of trade and investment, elimination of tariff restriction and other non-tariff barriers are required. Government of India is now very active in case of FTA engagements. It recently concluded its FTA with United Arab Emirates and Australia. This existing trade arrangement with Japan, South Korea are being reviewed, and new trade agreements are being negotiated with Canada, EU, and UK. In addition to the pact with Saudi Arabia and Russia, are also in the pipeline as part of proposed trade agreements with GCC countries and Euro-Asian Economic Union respectively. Finalization of all these FTAs will enhance bilateral trade and investment between India and other G20 nations. Promoting global value chain is another avenue for fostering trade among the trusted partners. GVC is crucial not only to foster job creation and economic growth, but also enables country to exchange technology and knowledge, thereby making the growth more sustainable. The large heterogeneity among G20 members in terms of their participation in GVCs needs to be addressed to make trade more equitable and sustainable. Focus on MSME would be another effective tool to promote and create enabling environment for better trade and higher investment among G20 members. In most of the G20 countries, nearly 90% of the industrial activities happens through small business in whatever manner they are defined. It is imperative that the policies by all countries should be to promote MSME and build a network of MSME across countries in order to set an inclusive approach and enhancing trade investment among them. When the developed world has started looking at India with enhanced confidence, the G20 presidency turns out to be one-time opportunity for India to secure larger share in the global trade and investment. I believe this session will bring many new ideas and thoughts from the eminent panel of speakers that will lead India to achieve its goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us and breaking the ice and just reigniting the discussion that we are about to have. May I now request all our esteemed panelists to be part of the dais. So requesting Ms. Michaela Kuhler, Consul General, Consulate of the Federal Republic of Germany. Mr. Jayan Nadikar, sir, Trade and Investment Commissioner of Flanders, Belgium, South India. Mr. Adit Sharma, President and Member of the Board, Indian Business Chamber of Luxembourg. Mr. Vikram Lodha, Co-Founder and CEO, 360TF. Mr. R. Visveswaran, Field General Manager, Union Bank of India, Chennai. Mr. N. Vasudevan, Senior Consultant, Industrial Energy Efficiency, the Energy and Resource Institute, TERI. Yeah. Last but not the least, I would request our moderator, Dr. Sheshadri Chari, probably who will moderate and deliberate all the discussions, to be part of the dais, please. Dr. Sheshadri Chari is the member of the Governing Council and Managing Board of RIS. Research and Information Systems was established 39 years ago under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is the economic agency of the Government of India to look into all bilateral and multilateral trade and trade institutions and the FTAs. He is also Professor Emeritus at Pune University in the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies. He teaches geopolitics and international relations at Manipal University. Okay. Sir, he was here now. Okay. Just allow me a minute. Just allow me a minute. Dr. Shehadi Chari, sir, here. I'll just reiterate what I just mentioned about sir. Dr. Chari is the member of the Governing Council and Managing Board of RIS. Research and Information Systems was established 39 years ago under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is the economic agency of Government of India to look into all bilateral and multilateral trade and trade institutions and FTAs. He is also Professor Emeritus at Pune University in the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies. Sir teaches geopolitics and international relations at Manipal University. Now I would request Sir to kindly have deliberate discussions and take the session forward. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. It was actually a pleasure when I received the email from the Commerce Ministry suggesting that this is an important event that is taking place as far as trade is concerned. And as was introduced, I am the Governing Council member of the RIS. RIS, Research and Information System, was set up almost 39 years back when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. We basically look into all trade-related issues, including FTAs that the Government of India signs with many countries. Being the agency of the Government of India as far as trade is concerned, especially foreign trade, it has been strategically brought under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There was a time when the Foreign Affairs was more concerned about the colonies, more concerned about geography, and more concerned about military strength. But today, in the last almost a decade or so, what constitutes great power rivalry is neither military nor geography, but it is trade. It is a contest between 23 trillion economy and 15 trillion economy. So if we are going to be closer to the 15 trillion economy or the 23 trillion economy is the question that all emerging economies are facing today. So with that idea, and also as it was pointed out during the introductory remarks, that India having become the president of G20, this gives all of us, all the G20 members and the emerging economies of the global south, to look afresh at the trade prospects. So what are actually the challenges and what are the opportunities? Of course, there are opportunities, multiple opportunities. And we consider every challenge to be the other side of the opportunity. So to discuss all these issues, we have a very great panel, a panel which consists of people who are at ground zero. Unlike me, I'm an academician, but there are people who are actually not knee length but hip length in business. So I don't dare speak before their experience. I'll straight away get into the subject. Do we begin with you, madam? I'm told that you have a very... Yes, it's very unfortunate if you're going to leave without listening to my concluding remarks. But please. There will be a recording. Yeah. So, that means you are warning me that everything that I speak is recorded. Good. I'll be careful. So we start with you, madam. Thank you.
Well, if you allow, I will speak from here. That will be less of a fuss when I leave. Well, esteemed co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Vanakkam, Namaskar. Germany's most valuable good is its human resources. It is the men and women, and I underline and women, who with their skills, dedication, creativity, and persistence drive Germany's international success. Did you know that only 10% of German companies export, and that 79% of these are small and medium-sized enterprises? So that's just like in India. In India and in Germany, the SMEs are often called the backbone of the economy. And that is certainly true, but it is also thanks to a good regulatory framework in Germany that SMEs and big international companies are able to thrive. I am proud that around 2,000 companies from Germany are present in India with their own factories, and I see some of them represented here in this room. Some have been here for decades, others are startups. They all have one thing in common. They help create wealth in India through the creation of jobs and the generation of profits and tax revenue, and they're doing good, just as Indian companies are, thanks to their commitment to CSR. Most of them are also highly satisfied with the possibilities they have here, though sometimes bureaucracy is a burden. But that is for everyone the case. On the other hand, in our experience, institutions like Tamil Nadu Guidance or one-stop schemes like in Telangana and similar institutions throughout the country have provided remarkable help and support. German companies abroad can rely on an elaborate network of institutions that assist them when they are looking to develop and secure foreign markets. German missions abroad, like the embassy in Delhi and consulates general throughout the country, the organization Germany Trade and Invest, GTAI, and the German Chambers of Commerce abroad work together closely to deliver the best possible backing for German firms. The federal government also helps banks and German firms in all sectors to implement and finance international projects. And Germany is a reliable partner when it comes to ensuring exports and investments. Just like India is looking for foreign investments, so is Germany. It's a competition, it's a global competition. Last year, the federal government opened an office of Germany Trade and Invest in Mumbai. Bavaria has a long-standing presence with Invest in Bavaria in Bangalore. And North Rhine-Westphalia only recently opened its Global Business Trade and Investment Agency, also in Mumbai, and it is present here today at IESS, and the leader of the office, Ambika, she's sitting here in the room. So if you're interested in that, please go and see her in her booth. German companies in India are active in the traditional fields of German industries: automobiles, engineering, automation, and textiles. Some are also in tech and innovation and in digitization. But what are the trends for the future? A survey by Die Deutsche Wirtschaft, the Association of German Medium-Sized Companies, sees the driving force behind the economy of the 21st century in the fields of IT, artificial intelligence, all aspects of digital transformation, the easing of transport through drones and airborne taxis. I think that's a big issue for India. And in creating more diversity in enterprises by increasing considerably the number of women in high-ranking management positions. After all, we must not forget that women represent slightly over 50% of the population. Why should a company, why should the economy do without their talents? In all of the areas identified by Die Deutsche Wirtschaft, German companies are on their way to creating the future. India is a thriving and dynamic economy with highly skilled workers. It is the 5th largest economy in the world and on the path to becoming the 3rd largest in a few years. It will thereby overtake Germany and Japan. India is truly in the focus of German policy when it comes to establishing new and better relations with trade and investment partners. Our federal chancellor, so corresponds to Prime Minister, our federal chancellor Scholz underlined in Davos this year that he is doing his utmost to ensure that the free trade agreement between India and the European Union that is currently being negotiated will be concluded quickly. To that end, we have seen many diplomatic visits from Germany to India. Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock visited New Delhi twice, in December and in March. Federal Chancellor Scholz went to New Delhi and Bangalore in February. And delegations from the federal parliament and from the Länder, Germany's federal states, are traveling to India in order to establish mutually beneficial relations. The European Union and India had a foreign trade volume of 88 billion euro in 2021. India is Europe's 10th most important trading partner and its 4th most important one in Asia. For India, Europe is the 3rd most important trading partner and the 2nd most important sales market after the United States. Among the EU member states, Germany leads with a share of 24.1%, followed by Belgium, my colleague is here, France, Italy, and the Netherlands. This very promising picture coincides with the astonishing fact that the only legal basis for bilateral trade and services is the most favored nation principle enshrined in the WTO treaty. I think that in order to exploit the huge potential for bilateral trade and investment, it would be highly desirable to advance quickly with the free trade agreement between India and the European Union. This would be a very sound basis for our bilateral trade and economic relations. One more point. When I arrived in Chennai last July, I was often asked about the consequences of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine for the German economy, with a special interest on the energy supply. Let me quote Federal Chancellor Scholz. Within a few months, Germany made itself completely independent from Russian gas, Russian oil, and Russian coal. We concluded new partnerships in Asia, Africa, and America, thus lessening our dependence. And so I can say that our energy supply for this winter is secured, thanks to well-filled storage facilities, thanks to improved energy efficiency, thanks to remarkable solidarity within Europe, and thanks to the readiness of our companies and of millions of citizens to save energy. As a result, energy prices have recently seen a huge drop. Our measures to reduce the burden on private citizens, companies, and businesses are working. Inflation is falling slowly, thanks, incidentally, also to resolute moves by the central banks. Industrial production in Germany has remained stable over the past few months against all odds. Our employment rate is at record levels and has recently increased even further. End of quote. The Cassandras have been proven wrong. I was in Germany last week. Production was running. My apartment was warm and cozy. Lights were on, and the government is covering part of the energy bill of companies and private consumers. And most importantly, our transformation toward a climate-neutral economy is currently taking on an entirely new dynamic. It is my hope that India will play an important role in this transformation towards a climate-new economy. With its huge capacities in renewable energy, it can produce green hydrogen, which can be stored and transported, so that countries like Germany will be able to purchase it from India. Allow me to resume in a nutshell. 3 points. Firstly, Germany and India are very close trade and investment partners. To exploit the full potential of their relationship, the rapid conclusion of the FTA between India and the European Union would be desirable, as well as good cooperation in the field of human resources. Secondly, Germany's economy has proven to be strong and resilient despite the challenges posed by the pandemic and the Russian war of aggression. India's economy is on the rise and becoming a major economic power worldwide, with plenty of fields to increase our mutual cooperation. Thirdly, India is very well placed to play a major role as a supplier of energy worldwide through renewable energies, as it is quickly increasing capacities and improving technology in this field, not least in cooperation with partners from Germany, mainly here in Tamil Nadu and in Chennai. So I would like to call upon all of you and on the governments in this country, let's build on our existing partnership and develop it further together in the framework of the G20. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I would request if you could just wait. First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing and enlightening us with the current state and also paving the way forward. I would now request Mr. Pankaj Bajaj, Working Committee Member, EPC India, to kindly share a token of appreciation to Ms. Michaela Kula. Sir.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now we can proceed this session. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. That was very interesting inputs from Madam Michela Kuchil. Of course, you very rightly pointed out about industrial production getting stabilized in Germany. It's very important as far as Germans' technological fundamentals are concerned. It's also true that India and Germany can work together as far as renewable energy is concerned, especially tapping hydrogen energy. And it's also important for us to look into various aspects of India EU FTA, which is in the process of getting ready. But with all these things, I think we will be able to overcome the current challenges. We were supposed to have 3 sessions, but I find that the first session is more or less on the recent developments post signing FTA with UAE and Australia. But I would suggest that we take the Commerce Ministry inputs on that subject and move on to the next session, which will also cover the important highlights of the first session. I would like to begin with Mr. Jayant Nadigar, Trade and Investment Commissioner of Flanders, Belgium, South India. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Moderator Dr. Chari, fellow panelists, EPC exporters, and friends. It's a great pleasure to be the focus region at the 10th edition of EPC's flagship event, International Engineering Sourcing Show, which is the 10th edition. And we are the focus region for the 5th time in a row. And it's our great pleasure to continue our relationship with EPC. I represent the Flanders region of Belgium, which is a major region within Belgium. And then, as I mentioned, here, this is some of the shows that we have taken part in the past with IESS. Now, the success which has happened because of our participation is that you see your fellow exporters already having their foothold in the region of Flanders. I think these are all very familiar names to you. Emerald Tires, who manufacture the off-road tires. Super Ocho Forge, who also got the award in the morning. Manatech, IM Gears, and Autotech. These are some of the engineering names which you're already able to recognize, who have made their base in Flanders region of Belgium to address their European market. Why did they choose Flanders? I think there are several aspects to this. It's centrally located, and as a matter of fact, it's about 60% of the purchasing power is within 500 kilometers. So that means to say that it's a one-day market from Flanders region. Open and friendly environment. It also has certain physical aspects to notional interest deduction. And of course, we have the logistical outplay there, high quality of life, highly skilled manpower, and motivated talent that we have, and it's more importantly multilingual. And I think we are able to appreciate this aspect, especially from a European perspective. I'll take a step back and then say, give the regional, profound regionalization of Belgium. It's divided into 3 major regions. We have the presence of our Consul General as a support to us, with us today. The federal government takes care of the entire Belgium, and then we are highly regionalized. We have 3 regions, Flemish region constituting about 60% of population and nearly 80% of exports. Brussels capital region, about 10% of population and 2.3% of exports. And the Walloon region, 32% of population and nearly 15% of exports. The regionalization is very profound on a linguistic basis, and they are autonomous. We, as Flanders Investment and Trade, as an organization, which is under the Ministry of Flanders, has an extensive network of offices worldwide, and we have 3 offices in India, in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, and then I'm heading the office in Bangalore for southern India. Just to look at the strengths of Flanders, which is the infrastructural, the connectivity that we are talking about. Let's say you see several of these locations here, the Antwerp, Bruges, Ostende, and all that you see, there is a dense network of ports, airports, roads, rail network. And then I think it's centrally located, and it has a highly efficient multimodal infrastructure. Now, that is the reason why Flanders is the logistical hub for your gateway to Europe, and it also ranks number 3rd in the most connected countries, has an excellent, attractive region for doing logistical activities because of its value proposition for warehousing. And I think you have all the engineering. I mean, there is specific availability of warehouses of all goods. It could be from banana to, let's say, chemicals to, and it's the 2nd largest petrochemical hub in the world. We also have the representative of the Port of Antwerp with us today here in the audience. So we have a huge logistical activity performance. This is the impressive headquarters of Port of Antwerp, designed by Zara Hadid. It's very impressive there. And these are some of the, can you? Yeah, these are some of the logistical powerhouse companies that you can think. I think many of them you already recognize them. It could be DHL, the DP World, the Volvo, the Kuehne+Nagels of the world. So these are some of the logistical players who are playing the role for taking your, let's say, engineering goods into Europe, basing yourself out of the Flanders region of Belgium. Now, how could you put together your business scenarios? So there are different ways, there are different scenarios. It could be a representative office, storage of stocks and goods with your value-added logistics and services scenario, or a European distribution center with regional warehousing possibility, or a full-fledged European hub. So there are different possibilities where, depending upon your exporting aspiration, and then possibilities are there from Flanders region of Belgium. And there is also a legal framework through which you can play your role there. I think it could be a non-taxable Belgian presence. You can just you can deal with just your VAT registration there, so you can make your logistical operations. And then slowly, when your, let's say, the volumes build up, then you can build up the way in which you want. So I think these are all, your colleagues have already taken this route from an entry level towards a European distribution center possibility there. So as I mentioned, that we give as a team, we are here, there is a people movement, goods movement, logistical possibilities. So we have the federal government supporting us right through. We have the port representative here. So we are participating as a team here to ensure that we give you, either if you want to come and visit us as a site visit, the team is always there to help you out. We are here for all the 3 days. Please do visit us, and then we can have a one-on-one. I do know that there will be a lot of one-on-one questions which will be coming on board. Visit us. And then once again, I thank the EEPC for giving us this opportunity for this, let's say, a carrot to make sure that the discussions can take place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jayant Nadigar. That was a very interesting information. But of course, during the question answer, we will also deal with issues relating to engineering goods and also the technology transfer methodology between the industries. Because, of course, you spoke about service industry to a very large extent. But what are the manufacturing facilities that are available would be of great interest to us. And also about the withdrawal of general scheme of preferences. We will go to Mr. Aditya Sharma. He is the President and Member of the Board, Indian Business Chamber of Luxembourg.
Distinguished fellow speakers, members of the audience, I bring greetings from Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a smart capital and also a very smart country. What I'm going to share here now is my experience of about 30 years looking at business from international perspective. I've spent about 18 years in India and thereafter about 14 years in Luxembourg, and being the president of the Chamber of Commerce, I had the privilege of understanding the business from outside perspective, and while being a part of corporate, also looking from inside. So I'm going to share a few thoughts on trade and investment with G20 countries, challenges and opportunities. As we see that G20 was set up in 1999 and become quite functional from 2008, and we are now standing in 2023, and we are talking about challenges and opportunities. We know that G20 has the share of 75% to 85% of global trade as we see it, the way we define it. We have got 60% of the land mass under them, and they are quite big in all the size and the proportion. We also heard before and earlier that there have been great power rivalries. There have been also talk about that India being the president now, why not take advantage of it fully and take India forward? But I think the way India has positioned itself and has put forward in the G20, it is more about co-creation going together. So India has said, Vasudev Kutumbakam. That means one world, one family, one future. And I think G20 opportunities, they lie in aligning ourselves with this key message. The message is quite profound, and it has so far not been thought of that way, but it has got the inherent theme of what we have been talking about all of the recent years of co-creation. So let's see that what can we do about it? What's there we can bring it about it? What are the challenges and how we can remove it? If we see the context-wise, 3/4 of India is yet to be built. So there's a huge opportunity lying ahead, all of us. If we look at Africa, it needs to be built up, a lot of it. Latin America, it needs to be built up. So the G20 countries can come together under some theme to unleash these opportunities and benefit to all, while those who provide it and while those who will get it as well. So how do we go about it, and what are the obstacles we see in the way to this? As I see it, and what could we do about removing these obstacles? We know that currently the way the supply chain structure works, or the countries work under those who are part of G20, they all have got sort of their own set of standards or some national standard bodies, and they have got a market share, and the products have to be pushed along the lines of those standards. What that ends up creating is silos. We know there are international standard bodies, but they are again sort of creating a bigger mix of silos. And one part of that moving towards one family, one world, will be looking at this bigger picture and seeing that how can we remove the silos. One example, I'll take it from this morning. I'd like to congratulate Hindustan Series Syringes and Medical Devices. They have got well-deserved award this morning on quality. During COVID time, they produced 5,600 syringes per minute. It was an amazing scale, which was reported globally, appreciated. But that was done for one particular type of vaccine called Pfizer's BioNext Tech. The point is that the skill which they have got and the scale at which they delivered it, the point is, can that be delivered for other type of vaccines? And there is a question mark. Because of the point that they have to specialize on a one particular standard that much, so they are there, and the other market opportunities may not exist. We have to see that how we can remove this type of sort of silos building and allow the capabilities which have been built up to widen, to go further. And there is what the G20 as countries together should come together to form a body to look into that how we can align. And we know similar standards difference happen a lot in power sectors. We know that standards by the countries, electrical devices, everything quite differ, and that needs to be done. We also talked about Ukraine war, and we know that because the European standards and the Ukrainian standards have been different on certain things, including the railway gauge, and that hampered the logistic support which could have been provided. So these are the practical challenges which we have been seeing, and I think that G20 should step forward to remove these obstacles. Another quick point I'd like to say it is in terms of education. We know that there could be some local differences in the education, but the way the education system is currently built, that each individual or each citizen of a national of a different country has a completely different perception of the world, what the world is and what it functions. If you have got the best of the minds having different perceptions of the world coming together, trying to solve a problem, they will not be able to solve, because inherently they see something quite different. So G20 should also, my recommendation will be to look into how they can bring about some sort of basic sort of common understanding of world, allowing the local differences, of course, to be there. The third is that the business models of the past have been built on the model of unique selling proposition. Thereby they talk about that we are unique and therefore our product is unique and we sell it that way. So everyone talks about to promote their own company or their own product or their own region or their own country. So that, in my perspective, if I look at, is sort of a silo building at the level at which we are talking about. So why don't we understand that the future of our youth are looking at world differently? If we look at it, today's youth, who are, I'll call iGen, who are born around year 2000 and all, and beyond, they look at a product from their functionality aspect. So they will not possibly go for the branding aspect as we did in our age or our elders did. They want, if something is good enough, it's functional, I'm in. So the companies should take that into account and revisit everything, be it automotive industry and others, and try to see that how we could align looking at the new behavior, consumer behavior, which is emerging, and make our products available accordingly, rather than trying to build on and being unique and different. With this, I'd like to conclude my talk now. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to your comments. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya Sharma. Very pertinent points you have pointed out about the three aspects. I'm sure you are going to be grilled as far as your business model idea is concerned. Of course, there is a tectonic shift as far as business models are concerned, the earlier ones and the present ones. But in the emerging global context, how how countries would be able to adjust themselves to this kind of a business model where there is bound to be some sort of a difference of opinion as far as profit and transfer of technology for the emerging economy is concerned. Of course, we'll come to that when we have a small question and answer session. I would now request Mr. Vikram Loda, co-founder and CEO of 360TF, to put his views ahead.
Thank you, EPC, to have us here and making us part of the overall event as the trade finance partner to the entire international engineering sourcing show. And this is something that we are very happy about, in the sense we see a great amount of participation from the foreign buyers as far as the engineering goods from India are concerned. And some of our customers, I'll give an example to kind of relate to what I'm saying. We deal with a lot of customers in the Africa market, and we have a local presence in Kenya, wherein there's a dealer who buys Daikin products, and he has a choice of buying Daikin products from UAE or from India, and they prefer India manufactured products. While they both are Daikin, and Daikin is a globally known brand, but the ones manufactured in India are preferred for the reason that they don't find they find the after sales very easy. There are no complaints. Whereas some of the other geographies where they're procuring from the same brand, also they find some queries and questions coming from the customers later. Just a perspective. This is something that we see as a trend, and a bit about us as 360TF. What do? We are a trade finance fintech. We're headquartered out of Singapore. We have local presence in 8 countries, and we support specifically Indian exporters to avail financing across the world. Couple of things I just want to lay in front of you, and I have a fellow banker here. I've been a banker all my life. After doing trade finance for good 17, 18 years, I thought it's time that I try and do something on filling in the gap that I've seen in the market for all these years. We used to have exporter customers. Chari Sahab, this is something that we have addressed. I've witnessed it all my life. We used to have customers come in with their LCs, and LCs, within the trade world, letter of credit is a very strong instrument used across the world, wherein the risk of payment is predicated on the bank on the other side, the buyer's bank, and not on the buyer. So in a way, you are mitigating the risk of the corporate, and you are predicating the risk on the bank. And just to give you a sense of what is the difference between a corporate risk and a bank risk, the global default rate on a corporate risk vis-a-vis a bank risk, is quite significant, to the extent that the bank risk across the world stands at 0.08% globally. This is like 8 cents on $100. Is the lowest possible NPL product available in the market today. And this includes the COVID period as well. The banks across the world did not default per se. There were delays, there were refinancings done, but there were no defaults. Maybe Sir can substantiate that more. But just to give you a perspective, that when we used to get these LCs for some of the geographies, and some of the geographies, they're good 80 odd developing and emerging market geographies that we are talking about here. And when customers used to get LCs from these markets, invariably banks in our country used to turn it down and say that, sorry, we don't have the country limit or the bank limit. And that's where we got this as an opportunity or an urge to fill in this gap, and we said we will work on this model, and we will reach out to global banks who are willing to take this risk. And over a period in time, we realized that bank limits and country limits is a function of visibility. To give you a perspective, if from India, if you are, if sitting out of Singapore, if you get a LC of, let's say, a State Bank of India or let's say Union Bank of India for that matter, you will have more than 30, 40 banks willing to cover those transactions. But the moment you get a LC from a smaller bank, and for discussion's sake, I'm saying a Catholic Syrian bank or a Karnataka bank, you would not find many banks willing to take risk on those banks. Then what do? You invariably go to banks who have a visibility of a Catholic Syrian bank or a Karnataka bank and are willing to take that risk. And that's what we do. So today, if you get a LC from Ethiopia or Egypt or Senegal or Nigeria or Vietnam or Cambodia or South Korea, wherever you're going, we get institutions who are willing to cover the risk of those markets and have a better visibility of those markets. So that's how we try and fill in this gap. We help exporters from 26, I would say exporters and importers from 26 different countries. That's the kind of country representation that we have on our platform. With respect to India, I'll just like to give you a few numbers and leave those thoughts with you. As a country, we receive on the export letter of credit, we receive around 3 lakh LCs per annum, 300,000 LCs per annum. Our neighbor Bangladesh, with probably 1/5 of our export size, they receive 5 lakh plus. Okay, so this is I'm just trying to dwell to a particular point. Out of this 300,000 that we receive as a country, majority of them are received by the larger corporates in the country. If you look at the Nifty 50 companies, none of them export on open account. Open account is where you're taking the risk on the corporate. They all export under export letter of credit or to their own entities outside of India. Basically, they are not willing to take a corporate risk, being the large entities themselves, and someone who has a better market knowledge, better understanding of geographies, and also the muscle power to move certain things around in various geographies. In spite of that, they are not willing to take the corporate risk. The other side of this is the MSME segment, which in all perspectives have a lesser control over the foreign buyers, are still okay to go on open account basis and are not seeking a LC strongly enough. I know it's not easy to get a LC being a MSME or a mid-sized company, but that's the shift that we need to make. It's first the ask that we need to make, and this has multiple connotations to it. One, your payment gets secured. You are now taking the risk on the bank and not on the corporate. Two, your pricing improves significantly because it is not a corporate risk, it's a bank risk now. And three, most important, which is the biggest challenge that the MSME world faces today, is availability of credit. These transactions are typically done without recourse to the exporter. There is no limit requirement, there is no collateral requirement per se in India. You can have a bank sitting outside of India doing these transactions for you. So this is something that's important for the exporters to realize, that just by changing an instrument, what you're doing is you're able to expand your network or your franchise into newer markets, newer buyers, thereby also protecting your payment risk and securing finance as well. So that's something that's important. And as I was just reading the report. On the engineering side, G20 countries account for 50% plus of export, and this is growing at a 10% CAGR. So we are going to have an increased collaboration or increased, I would say, exports to these countries. It's only opportune, and now is the time when India is at the helm of G20 countries, that we push our agenda and try and get our transactions secured through whichever payment mechanism that we can adopt, LCs being one of them. We can all, as bankers, we can deliberate more and see how do we secure payments, how do we ensure that our exporters get credit in time and have the liquidity by their side. Thank you. That's from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Lodha. Very important points you have raised, and I'm sure I have half a dozen questions for you, but I'm not going to ask them now. Especially the ideas that you have mentioned. I don't know how you chose Africa as an example. Yeah. That's good. In fact, we are also dealing with, we have a forum called Asia-Africa Growth Corridor, which directly looks into Africa part of the business. But most of the problems that you mentioned are true and very real. I was a UN consultant on governance and business in South Sudan for 3 years. So I can relate to all the problems that you have mentioned as far as LC, especially LC opening from African governments are concerned. And more importantly, the issue is not just business but also political instability in most of the African countries. So of course we are not dealing only with Africa but other countries. But more importantly, we should recognize, we do recognize, the Commerce Ministry is aware of the fact that Africa offers probably was one of the greatest potential as far as export of engineering goods and technology transfer is concerned. But I take your point as far as banking is concerned. We have to do a lot, not only India but also G20 countries and also African Union per se. I think African Union is going to be one of the most important organizations, institutions which is going to resolve some of these problems. So of course we'll come to all these issues. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I'll just like to add here. So this is some time back, sir. I have happened to meet Subbu sir, Mr. Yaduvendra Mathur is on our board, and we happened to meet Mr. Subbu through him. And over the discussion, he mentioned, Vikram, I want you to focus on this side and come up with areas where we can help exporters avail more financing, reduce the cost. We've been working with that mandate, with that agenda for last 1.5 years in India as a market. Recently, we've launched export finance survey. To my surprise, the last such survey was done in 2001 by RBI. So, I would request participants who are exporters here to visit our booth. We are just around the corner here, and participate in the survey. This will only help as all of us as a community to take the right kind of responses to the policy makers.
True. So that's very interesting input actually. Can I request Mr. Vishweshwaran, Field General Manager, Union Bank of India, Chennai.
Respected Chariji, my esteemed fellow panelists and friends who are here. So I'm first of all thankful to EPC for giving me an opportunity to be here, part of this biggest display of engineering show here. So it was really amazing. I had an opportunity to go through, had a chance to discuss with some of the people there. So what I was thinking is when came to discuss, because it's all two different set of people here, somebody coming and talking about Germany, Luxembourg, and Belgium, I thought somebody should represent India also. So I thought I will take that opportunity to say what we are there as a banker to do for the Indians to be part of this G20 from our side. So the biggest thing, I would like to talk not just about Union Bank of India here, the whole fraternity of bankers, even though I had one of my friends now. When I was interacting with most of them, they were finding that they were fairly having some banking connection with some of the bankers, and most of the time their banking connections were extremely limited to funding to the extent of the bare minimum, except few who were like going very fast. Most of them were like not even taking to the extent of what that would be required for them because of some amount of understanding that's not there. They sometimes feel that, especially the first generation entrepreneurs feels that it's better to be less leveraged than rightly leveraged. I also, in my experience of 25 years of a banker, found that most of the time the entrepreneurs are not leveraged enough. With maybe I can take an exception of 10% people who are extremely over leveraged. Bulk of them are not leveraged sufficiently to take the best of opportunities that is available. And sometimes one of the examples what he had given is they are not able to, because of their size, not able to push the other side and even ask for something as basic as an LC from even the big corporates. And sometimes when I discuss with them, you're not getting it, you're putting it at risk, yourself at risk. The answer is they find that it's cheaper to go without LC because they don't consider the cost of default. Because if you are going to consider the cost of default of a corporate, however big it is, it's going to always be better to go through the LC route. That because of the general awareness, especially of the supply side of the engineering entrepreneurs in India, from the finance aspects is a much lesser than where they are supposed to be. So one of the important things what even the government of Tamil Nadu has taken for all the smaller sized MSME who are actually the backbone of the export in India. Of course, I'm talking only for Tamil Nadu now, but I'm sure that we are having similar schemes across all states, and central government is also doing, to get an awareness of what are all the opportunities that is available, one, and number two, how to get the best out of your skills and how to finance yourself right. Neither over leverage or under leverage. At the same time, ensure that you get what you deservedly right. Because most of the time, the MSME, when they go to corporates, even within India or outside, they're always exploited. They are not getting the right amount of pricing in most cases for whatever reason, and one of the big reason is a lack of awareness. So a lot of steps is being taken. My bank, specifically Union Bank of India, the 5th largest bank in India, and in terms of our MSME book, we punch much bigger than our size in general. So we have a big MSME book in comparison. So we have taken it upon ourselves along with the government agencies, various government agencies, to see that the awareness level is built sufficiently among the entrepreneurs to that extent that they will be not only able to do the best to their level as an individual or their company, but also ensure that the contribution to the nation and eventually India's contribution to G20 will also be appropriate. So we have put in a stall here, and just incidentally, even though our stall is primarily on the products we have had for all the entrepreneurs here, but just opposite to us there is a stall by government of Tamil Nadu in the name of FAME, even which was described by Mr. Arun Roy in the morning meeting. What are all the facilitations that is there? So my request would be that all the entrepreneurs, especially the first generation ones, to be sure that they are aware of, because everyone is an expert in their field. Finance is something you need to be expert on, and if you are not in finance, there are more companies that is going to that fail because of lack of finance knowledge than their lack of their product knowledge itself. So it's very important for us to ensure that our entrepreneurs are there up to speed with regard to whatever is required in terms of financial knowledge and awareness, so that they will be able to contribute overall to the growth of themselves, the country, and also contribute right to the G20 also. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Vishweshwaran. Of course, again, a number of good points you have mentioned. MSMEs do require a lot of hand-holding, no doubt about it, especially when it comes to engineering goods, where the emphasis is not just on production, but also to a very large extent on R&D. Especially if you see the last 5 to 6 years, there is a tremendous growth in engineering goods, especially the MSME part of the engineering productions, where there is enough scope for technology improvement, and also a very large extent of industrial automation. especially when it comes to implications or applications of artificial intelligence and robotics. But with the moment we mention artificial intelligence and robotics, there are always people to tell the bankers especially that what we need is more employment and not machines. So we will have to change our mindset and mentality that every machine does not displace human beings, and there can also be human-enabled artificial intelligence, human-enabled robotics could be there. So this is one area of engineering which is practically new, not only to the entrepreneurs, but also, I mean, pardon my saying this, it's not in reference to your bank, but I deal with a number of bankers, including Exim Bank. The change in the mindset has to come also among the bankers. So this factor of increasing the trust quotient of the MSME sector has to increase. Unless we talk only in terms of production. So this is one factor. Of course, we can have question answer on this. I'm told that one of the speakers is not yet here, right? In the second session, Mr. Bala. Okay, so what I suggest is we are running out of time. Of course, we hardly have another 7 to 8 minutes. But would you still give us a cup of coffee if I exceed by 10 minutes? Good, thank you. That's very good assurance. So I would rather prefer to go to the third theme. We have Mr. Vasudevan here. So that is sustainability initiatives, challenges and opportunities for engineering goods promoting clean energy. We started with Germany speaking about clean energy and overcoming the present energy issues that they are facing. And here we would probably have a speaker who could dwell more on the opportunities as far as clean energy is concerned. Over to you, Mr. Vasudevan. Mr. Vasudevan is Senior Consultant, Industrial Energy Efficiency of TERI.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank EPC for giving this opportunity to present our experience, TERI's experience in sustainability and clean energy initiatives. Basically, I would start with, how do I go to the next slide? Okay, just to brief you, TERI is a not-for-profit research organization which was initiated in the year 1974. It is jumping. Okay. We have also a TERI University, TERI School for Advanced Studies. We have our presence in Bangalore, Mumbai, Goa, and Guwahati, and we almost 700 professionals working in TERI. Just to give a very brief introduction. And I represent Industrial Energy Division of TERI, which basically promoting energy efficiency across industries, including MSMEs. So my point is, I am going to talk slightly different, which is more technical rather than talking about financing and exports and other things. Is more to the, you can call it as a micro level, this thing. So we also, so coming to the point, so in TERI, actually, we conduct energy assessment and benchmarking studies for all large industries, including small-scale industries, MSMEs. We provide technical assistance to for energy-intensive industries for technology development, demonstration, and replication. And we also have a platform called Samiksha. It is Samiksha, which was actually initiated by Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation, and it is chaired by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, where actually we get together every 6 months or so to basically create awareness, take knowledge sharing on various initiatives in the technology side and also financing side, all which are related to the MSME sector. Now, we are also doing a lot of sectoral related studies, basically where now the talking is more towards decarbonization of the sector and net zero emissions. So we also undertake studies related to that. Now, coming to basically industry sector. Indian industry sector, actually, it is one of the, for your information, it is almost consuming more than 50% of the energy consumption. It is accounting for the major energy, major share of GHG emissions. So it is a very, very important sector as far as India is concerned. So among that, MSME is a very, 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 very important sector in the Indian economy. There are more than 2 crore MSMEs spread across the country, where MSMEs account for 45% of the manufacturing output and 40% of the total exports. And these are very, very different types of industries, MSMEs. They generally located as clusters. You can see, say, for example, if you come here in Chennai, there is a Tirumudi-Vakkam cluster where a lot of engineering industries are there, aluminum, die-casting industries. You go towards other side where you can go towards Belgaum or Indore, you have foundry sector. You go to Howrah, there is a foundry sector. You go towards Chhattisgarh, you will have steel rolling mills and secondary steel sector. So they are all located as clusters. So what happens is, all these industries, they have something in common. Basically, they have technology which are common, and the operating practices which are common, and even the trade practices are also very common, generally across the industries in MSMEs. So there are actually in India more than 200 energy-intensive industries which are actually very, very energy-intensive, which account for a major share of energy consumption. So why I am telling this point is, actually in any industry, especially MSMEs or even any industry, there are 3-4 different types of expenses which are taking place. One is raw materials, second is labor and labor part, where actually people are manpower cost, and third is energy. So raw material you can't do much. You can't do much about with the manpower. But energy is the one place where you can play a role, where it can be minimized or it can be made optimum. So this is a very, very important sector to touch upon the energy efficiency. And most of the MSMEs across the country, where actually we have studied, they are mostly energy inefficient. They use obsolete technologies which are very, very old. And the operating practices are also poor because they are not technically equipped. So that is actually what happens when you say compare their energy performance with a large industry. They are very far off. Each industry will be very far off. So they have a very high bandwidth of energy performance, which means there is a great possibility to reduce their energy consumption, reduce their GHG emissions, and improve their competitiveness, basically to reduce by reducing their energy costs. So the challenges are many in MSME sector. One is they have low level of awareness because they are not exposed to technologies, they are not exposed to better practices, and they don't have technical capabilities. Generally, they operate with those people who come and learn there. Someone will come and learn and pick it up, and he will be there for a number of years and pick up the whatever technical capabilities. So generally you don't find technical capabilities within the MSME industries. And also, even if the person knows that he has to invest on, say, energy efficient technologies, suppose you have to replace my furnace or my equipment with an automatic system, then the cost is going to be heavy, which the industry may not be able to afford. He may have to go to bank, and there are actually, again, there is a match or mismatch between bankers and this thing. So these things will go on. And if you address these things, there is a greater improvement for energy efficiency performance and environmental performance, and which in turn will improve the competitiveness and ensure sustainability for the individual industries. That is very, very important. And I would like you to take through 2-3 case studies in which our organization, TERI, is closely involved in the MSME sector for last almost 25 years. And I would also like to share with you what are the impacts, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. So here, whatever you are seeing here, it is a steel industry, it is a foundry which melts iron, and it produces various castings and other things. So this is a conventional cupola where the performance is very poor, and it was replaced with a highly energy efficient system where there is a improved energy performance of almost 35 to 65%, which means if my performances were, and I can improve the performance by almost 30 to 60%. And also there was an issue when we interfered. There is a important issue of addressing the environmental issues, basically air pollution. So we help them in adopting a pollution control system, which help them to bring down the energy particulate emissions from 1,300 to 50, which is very substantial. So another case is a pot furnace. This is a pot furnace. This is the typical in India or in elsewhere in the world. This is actually located in Firozabad. There are more than 150 industries located in Firozabad. Out of that 100 industries, they produce only glass bangles. All of them, every day they produce millions of bangles. And this was the status of the furnace when we entered into the cluster. So we did a lot of work with them. And then basically we helped them in improving the furnace design, improving the burner design, and added some energy efficiency within the system, which helped them in reducing their energy consumption by 30 to 35%. So this was a case. So you can see the difference between the type of furnace they were having, and then it got installed later on. So we added so many things. We got actually pooling with the international experts and domestic experts to do this activity, because we are not the glass experts. So we had to do that. And so basically this helped them in basically improving their energy performance. And today, if you go to Firozabad and see, nobody is having the age-old furnaces. And they all transformed into the new furnaces, which better energy performing system, where they are actually reducing their energy consumption by 30 to 35%. This is a very, very important case, because I will tell you the background of this. In 1994, I think, the Supreme Court has given the judgment that all the industries in the Taj trapezium, they have to switch over to other fields without giving any technology options. So that time we were in. So it took us almost 10 years to penetrate into this thing and make a change. And it took us almost 20 years for us to almost transform the entire cluster. So it is a very long journey. Apart from that, we also made number of studies in MSME sector especially, and that is our focus of interest. And here actually number of industries are there, like foundries, forging, which are in the secondary steel sector, wire drawing, galvanizing, where there is an enormous opportunities to switch over from the conventional or traditional oil-fired system to electric system. For example, in food processing and pharmaceutical, if you go to any pharmaceutical industry, especially if you go to even Gujarat, you go to Ankleshwar or Vapi or any other place, you will find they all use inefficient boilers. They use biomass, they use coal, and they don't know what they are producing, how much they are producing, what efficiency they are producing. They are more bothered about their product. And now there is an opportunity for them to switch over to much more energy efficient system, where they can actually adopt the very much efficient system and reduce their energy cost. And this is where actually the clean energy options will help in energy saving, cost saving, and help them in reducing the local GHG emissions. But there is a catch. They have to, for adoption, they need a high investments first of all, and then there is a need to improve their skill. That is also very, very much it is there. So these are the things which are there. And as I was telling you, we had this intervention in two clusters, two industries, foundries and glass, where we could, over the past almost 20 years of our experience, the energy saving was almost 318 tons of oil equivalent. There is a huge GHG reduction, and it is cumulative. The effect is cumulative. Every year they are going to save the energy. Every year they are going to reduce their energy consumption and reduce their energy costs. So this is a one-time effort. So our key learnings are like this. One is, for any industry cluster, whether it is a MSME cluster or any industry, there is a need to create a baseline. Then only you can compare the performance. And if someone make an intervention, there is a need for long-term involvement. Otherwise, actually, if you go with the solution for 1 year and come back, it is not going to change, because industry is not going to change like that. They will wait and watch, and if they are not interested, they will not change. You have to create that interest, and you have to go very frequently. You have to make them actually aware of these technological options which are available, and that is the reason actually there is a need for long-term involvement. And the third important thing is flexibility in your design. Whatever you go with the solution, I cannot go with the ready-made solution. You will just replace it, because you got to basically see what the industry needs. That is the most important thing. So basically, you don't go with the tailor-made solution. You go with the go there and see, understand them. Whatever their requirement, you have to actually you have to help them in adopting those solutions. For example, let me tell you a simple case. Suppose if I go to a glass industry and it is using oil firing as of now, I can ask them to actually change over to electrical, and I will make a very good project and get some demonstration funding somewhere else and put a good project, and it would have made an investment of say 20 crores, and nobody is going to adopt it. So you have to make sure that industries are adopting these solutions. That is more important than demonstrating something. That is whatever you have demonstrated, the replication should take on its own. You should not actually make people you should not push things. So it will come on its own. And also, whenever we are doing this kind of projects, the most important thing is, okay, as a Terry, we are energy experts. We are not process experts. We are not a particular product expert. So basically, there is a need to have multidisciplinary competencies to build this thing, so that basically it will be adopted and you can actually develop solutions based on the needs. And other important thing which we observed was, actually we did it when we are implementing the project. Don't go with the lab scale or pilot scale. Go with the full scale. Lab scale, whatever you do it in your home, not at the site. So whatever you demonstrate, people will tell, okay, I have a 10-ton furnace. I need only 10-ton or 20-ton. I cannot go with 10 kg fire system. So it is not adoptable. They will not go. And the most crucial thing is hand-holding. Hand-holding is the crucial. You demonstrate, you make them to understand everything. But end of the day, if you don't do the hand-holding, the adoption will take a different shape, different route. And you will find after 20 replications, you will find whatever you are telling to 30-35% efficiency improvements, you will not get. They would have adopted a different design. So hand-holding, for us actually is the most important thing whenever you are doing this. And also there is a need to generate awareness. You should have basically regular awareness programs, call them and interact with them to basically to make them aware, so that they actually take the solutions on their own and get the benefits. Thank you, sir. Thank you. If anything else, you can.
Thank you. Thank you for the excellent presentation, and I think the conclusions that you have mentioned are absolutely great, wonderful. And incidentally, we have been working very closely with Terry. We are in the same campus. RIS and Terry are both in Habitat Center, so we bump across each other. But some of the points that you made are very important. We have discussed this before, but also an emphasis also should be on the R&D that Terry creates. How to translate those products into pilot projects. As you very rightly said, it needs to become a pilot project and also handed over to the industry. So in this, I think the DRDO model would probably much easier and better. In the last almost post pandemic, the DRDO has transferred as many as 160 products to private industry. So they have what we call the product development fund, wherein they encourage private industry to participate with products. They share the designs, and then once the products are ready, they are tested and then ready for implementation, and that at the stage of ready for implementation stage, it is handed over to the private industry. They have a vendor list. All those procedures can be adopted. Incidentally, now ISRO is also trying to follow the same model, especially after the Prime Minister suggested that in the year of 76th, the year of India's independence, we should have launched 76 satellites. So for the last 76 years, ISRO has been the only institution supplying manufacturing satellites. So suddenly you tell somebody to manufacture satellite, they are not going to do it on day one. So these are all some of the issues that we have to tackle as far as even TERI is concerned, but your point is very well taken. And there are two aspects, two areas where TERI also has to contribute towards whatever R&D is happening. One is the hydrogen energy, and another is the transformation of the third stage of nuclear energy also, wherein how best we can use thorium fueled energy as far as consumption is concerned. Because as we all know, there is a direct correlation between energy consumption and GDP. For about 8% of GDP growth, you require something like 12% of energy consumption. So that mismatch, what we see in India is a very big mismatch. Even our GDP growth was not directly related to energy consumption for a long time. Of course, we are doing a lot of work and research on that as far as energy consumption is concerned. But this whole idea of linking GDP to energy is something that we have to work on. Especially the symmetrically normalized instrumental variable system of calculation. This is where we need to do more homework. I'm sure Terry is doing that homework, of course. I think with this we come to the almost the concluding part of the program. Of course, we need to do, we skip that whole idea of signing of FTA with UAE in Australia, but that was taken care of in the second session. And as far as sustainability is concerned, I would still request the organizers to go in for an independent 2-day seminar only on challenges and opportunities for engineering goods promoting clean energy. That's a very huge field where two important aspects of clean energy, that is use of thorium and hydrogen cells, fuel cells. These two are going to be very important as far as engineering goods are concerned, and that is going to really be a spin-off as far as MSME sector is also concerned. So I would request that you can make a note of it and speak to the ministry concerned so that we have an independent vertical on this subject. The India-EU FTA is also taking into consideration with all these things. We can share some of the findings of the recent seminar on hydrogen energy between India and EU. So that also can be factored in. I think we can have one quick 1-minute intervention by all the speakers. Yeah, please.
Yes, actually hydrogen is so important, and tomorrow there is a session in IESS from 11 a.m. By a company called Boson Energy, and I could see the Chief Technology Officer and co-CEO is there amongst us. So this point is very well taken. So those who are interested can join that.
Oh, that's very interesting, very fast and quick enough. Do we have time for question answer?
If someone needs to have some question answers, sir.
I have a question for Mr. Vikram Lodha. This is regarding again exports. We do exports to a lot of countries. We are making engineering goods. Lately we find countries like Argentina and Venezuela, they have issued the notification to their companies not to pay before 180 days. our payment terms were like, always X works of factory. So they used to engage a freight forward and other things. But now there are rules. So the goods are lying because we cannot dispatch them. LCs, they don't want to issue. And we also try to contact IES and they advise us to go to a kind of an insurance, this one. They also evaluated the whole case and later on they said no. So why these kind of things are coming up and why G20 countries, this kind of a treaty or agreements are not being done, why a government can issue notification to private companies not to make the payment before 180 days.
So not specific to Argentina or Venezuela alone, there are multiple geographies today wherein the government is stepping in and specifically on the import side and making regulations that imports have to be done either under LCs or like 180-day regulation. It is predominantly emerging from the currency situation in those countries and availability of dollars, forex reserves, and that's government's mechanism to contain it or control it or have an oversight of payments that are going to be made by by the country as such and not an individual importer. So all these are emanating from there. How does one mitigate these? A point, again, a very pertinent point that one needs to go through the LC route, and I'll tell you the reason why. We take a classic example of Nigeria, which is going for elections now. All the payments which were under open accounts, they've been put aside. Only the LC payments, which are committed payments by the financial institutions, and has also, LC payments, they have a global ramification in terms of non-payment or delayed payments in the international community. Those payments were prioritized, the forex reserves were set aside for them, and those payments were initiated first. What people have started doing is they have started specifically going under the LC route. Now, this is I would say, as a buyer and a seller, you will have to engage more and push them, persuade them to get through LC. That's the most secured manner to go ahead with, specifically for the countries that you are talking about right now. LATAM per se as a market, I would strongly suggest that one goes through the LC route. It's also a potential market for us. A lot of Indian exports are increasing there. But whenever we are getting into newer relationships, it's advisable to go through the LC route initially.
What about Vastro accounts? Would you like to mention? Yeah.
The other good part that is happening now is India has engaged with 18 countries now. 18 countries on the with the Vostro accounts. The whole concept and the whole idea about internationalization of INR, or rupee, very interesting. It has multifold effect as a country, but it's not there for Venezuela or Argentina as of now. But if that happens, that will also take care of the situation.
That's a very interesting question, and of course it's a very major problem that most of the industries, especially in the MSME sector, is facing. The Vostro account technology methodology was tried in 2014, but that was limited to only one or two countries, one country rather practically. That was because of the American sanctions on Iran, that we wanted to circumvent and try and do that. But that gave us a lot of good results, and that gave us a lot of experience and also lessons. So we have taken care of all those things, and now the present mechanism is much more robust and works very well. More than, of course, 18 countries and 36 accounts, if I am not mistaken, have been worked out on this methodology. But of course, the problem, as you said, regarding a particular country is going to come. Gradually, I think this will take care of it. And moreover, in future, the FTAs will also take into consideration these aspects. That's a good point. Of course, we will address that independently also.
Anyone else?
Using my prerogative as the chair, I wanted to flag one point as far as Mr. Jayant Nadigar was concerned. That was about the EU's engagement, especially on engineering goods, manufacturing part of the engineering goods. Of course, the trading part is very important. We need to have a trading center in EU, but more importantly, India's emergence as one of the destinations for aerospace industry and engineering goods pertaining to defense industry. In fact, very recently we released a report. The Commerce Ministry released a report along with the Defense Ministry wherein India's defense exports have crossed 13,000 crore. Naturally, if you see the defense imports have come down to the extent of about 3%, but further in another few years it will come down greater. But defense exports is going up, and defense export is going up not only because of certain policies, but also because of certain interventions that the government has made as far as MSME and engineering goods manufacturing industry is concerned. So how is European Union going to take it, and how is this going to work out? Since you mentioned it, I don't know if you could answer this.
Thank you. I think it has got to do with the manufacturing ecosystem that some of these regions have. And then especially from a Flanders perspective, I can mention that it has been time immemorial a manufacturing base. So, quality products, you've seen the mirrors that you can see, the glasses and also the manufacturing has been the base. In terms of, let's say, specifically coming now towards more aerospace and defense area. So I think we have been facilitating a lot in the high precision manufacturing companies. Say, for instance, it could be in the aerospace gears, or it could be landing gears. I think one of the hidden secrets of Flanders region is it is the large number of tier 1 suppliers for several OEMs in the aerospace segment in itself. So the likes of BMT Aerospace and also the sensors, very specific cutting edge technologies used in these applications hail from the region that I'm alluding to the fact. So I think it's a manufacturing ecosystem. Even currently the robotic density is much larger in the manufacturing space as well. So the newer technology also is evolving in that. So it would be a great opportunity for the Indian companies to look at it. So I showed some of the clusters which I've already evolved, and why they are there is because they are accessing the market there and they would like to reach to their customers. So I think they are reaching to the customers, and we would be happy to help to further help many of the EPC members to take this advantage. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good intervention, and I think we are practically at the end of this session, and I thank each and every one of the participants for putting across their views, and also the Commerce Ministry and Foreign Ministry for facilitating. I thank all the participants, and especially some of those who have taken notes. And I think there will be more opportunities for us to get together like this and improve the situation to such an extent that we will be able to really work on the basis of what the Prime Minister has said as far as G20 is concerned, that it's one world, one family, and there is going to be one future. So this one future is what we are going to think about and discuss about and come out with the proper economic framework which will work as a win-win situation for all of us. Thank you everyone.
Thank you to all the panelists and sir for very, very interesting deliberations. From the point of one side, we see talking about trade, investment. On the other side, we have two dignitaries talking about the investments, how the banking tools and operations are there to maneuver these investments moving across the globe, and a very, very varied experience of hearing sir about how sustainability, energy efficiency can be the way forward in this kind of a perspective. Now moving forwards, we are now at closing the session. Before we do that, I would request a token of appreciation to all our speakers. I would request Pankaj Bajaj sir to hand over a token of appreciation to Dr. Shishadri Chari sir. Sir, just a token. Sir. Sir, I would also request you to hand over a token of appreciation to Mr. Jayant Nadigar, Trade and Investment Commissioner of Flanders, Belgium, South India. Sir, to Mr. Aditya Sharma, President and Member of the Board, Indian Business Chamber of Luxembourg. Sir, now I would request Raghu sir to kindly pass on the token of appreciation to Mr. Vikram Lodha, co-founder and CEO 360TF. Sir, to Mr. R. Visveswaran, Field General Manager, Union Bank of India, Chennai. To Mr. N. Vasudevan, Senior Consultant, Industrial Energy Efficiency, Terry. So may I now request Pankaj Bajaj sir for the vote of thanks. Yeah, we'll do that, sir. We'll do that.
Hello, yeah. So we had a esteemed panel today and it was a great interactions. Points came out from Germany, from Luxembourg, right up to the energy efficiency in India and dollar trade, whatnot. Thank you to all panelists. Mr. Jayant Nadigar, Trade and Investment Commissioner of Flanders. Thank you, sir. Mr. Aditya Sharma, who came all the way from Luxembourg. Thank you very much. Mr. Vikram Lodha, about innovative financial solutions. Mr. Vasudevan for his path-breaking explanation on the energy efficiency. And Mr. Raman Raghu, under whose leadership this particular event was held. Friends, a very good afternoon. It's indeed an honor for me to present the vote of thanks to all the dignitaries and participants present in this discussion. As expected, the session went very well and it has been quite an interesting and enlightening session for all of us. Many new thoughts have been shared by our speakers and they have definitely enriched us, and I believe those will be really very effective for strengthening India's position as a trusted partner for trade and investments, not only among the G20, but all the emerging nations and the global south. This G20 presidency will surely improve India's recognition on the global economic front. EEPC India has today at the inauguration launched a knowledge paper on the topic. We plan to upload the knowledge paper on IESS website very soon, and I request you to kindly download a copy from there. With these words, I propose a hearty vote of thanks to all our distinguished guests here and all our speakers for these discussions today, and request you to carry the acclamation. Thank you.
As we close in today, I would request everyone present just to have a cup of coffee. Yes. We'll do that. Okay, before that, we'll do a group photo. I would request everyone to just come forward and
some help?
Oh, no, that's fine. I'll just put it over here. And I have a small little that is also there.
Yeah.
I have a thing.
Yeah, of course. I would also like to